Hi, I'm Pantazi. Today I'm going to talk to you about Kyusho and the word target. Now, a target is something you shoot at and you try to get an exact spot on it, but you have a range that will be still as successful. Okay, it gets less successful as it gets out to the edges, but when you're directly on an exposed area, it gets a better score if you're doing target shooting. In a combative situation, you want to hit a target. Now, where you hit on that target is not going to matter as much as how well you hit it. All right, and that's the divergence in using the target name for like archery compared to Kyusho. Now, in Kyusho, everybody's used to these pressure points. Okay, they're trying to hit this little area the size of a coin. Okay. Now, that is, as I have shown in the past, and I believe I have proven readily, that it was not the modality of the old martial arts, nor is it the working mechanism of realistic Kyusho. Now, the pressure points are on fascia, so they cause pain compliance, they cause certain muscle dysfunction, but they don't cause the deeper ramifications that are discussed in the Bubishi and the Kyusho manuals and documents of old, where you're fatally injuring an opponent or you're crippling them for life. These aren't what you're going to be able to access with the pressure points, however you can with real anatomical structures. Now, when you look at the target, okay, if you're striking a target in the arm, you have this nerve that runs all along here. Now, if you study pressure points, you're going to have 1 point here, 1 point here, 1 point here, 1 point down there. Okay, in between there's nothing, but you can still attack the nerve here because the nerve runs the whole length of the arm. So that's your target. Okay. Now, when you're in motion, a lot of people complain you can't hit these little dots in motion. And we proved that wrong because we used to train that way with the pressure point ideology, and we could still access the targets. Okay, so it's all how you train and how much time you put into it. A lot of people just like to say that Kyusho won't work in a real fight and have never actually tried. Or better yet, they might have tried, but did they train it to a level of capacity where they could actualize it in a real combative situation or even in a mobile situation, because most Kyusho people just hit and wait for the effect and they think they're learning it that way. So anyway, I digress. When you get into the targets, you can hit someone in the arm. I mean, how many times have you hit someone in the arm in your combat, okay, or your kumite? Now you take the facial nerve that runs all the way around the jaw, along the jaw. Now it stops somewhere around here, right about mid-eye, but then you have the mental nerve that carries on from there. So you have this whole area as your target. Now you do have to target at the right trajectory. As example, if you come in this way, okay, with just a skimming blow, you're not going to hit the target. Okay, you have to hit the target. You have to hit it with the proper trajectory. By trajectory, I mean the depth and the ultimate goal. Okay, a lot of times pressure point people say angle and direction, and that's okay. It's there partially, okay, but it's not the full concept, and that's why they can't make it work as readily as people studying the Kyusho on an anatomical base, because we're giving them the trajectory. We're showing them the layout of the nerve or the blood vessel, whatever they're attacking, the organ, and we're showing them the best direction and trajectory, depth of focus, and the ultimate goal. What are you doing? Are you trying to send a message to the brainstem, or are you just striking it on the jaw? Okay, that's what I mean by trajectory, and that's what the word targeting will do also, because when you strike the target, you want to get the depth of penetration. Now let's take this to shooting guns. as an example, and I've done a couple of different parallels with this before. But when you shoot a gun, okay, you want to get the target, of course. You want to get the correct place. But when you go into the lethality of that action, what you do is you take a block of gel, okay, as one test instrument, and you shoot it into the gel. So you want to know how far that goes, but you also want to know what it's doing along its path. All right, some bullets will go clean right through the back of the gel, okay, right out, okay, and it causes very little internal destruction of that gel block. Some stop within half of the gel block. Some go to almost 3/4 of the gel block, and they're 16 to 18 inches long, depends on the gel block and the density. But they're designed to cause massive destruction inside by the way they either open up as in an expanding bullet, okay, or how they tumble. There's many different things. Shotgun for shot shell for an example. How many little holes it goes in. Now that's where the destruction goes, but it's trajectory. How deep will it go? Will it pass several layers of clothing? Okay. Will it pass through the bone? These are things that are in calibers of bullets, okay, that have to be considered. And it's the same thing when you're doing your Kyusho. You have to consider the bulk of the material the person's using. For example, if you're in the winter, okay, and they've got on a thin undershirt, they have an overshirt, they have a sweater or something containing inside, and then they've got the heavy coat with the down or whatever it is. And you have to penetrate all of that before you even get the skin layer, all right? Now that on a pressure point is going to mute the effect considerably, okay? But when you're using the correct tools of the bubishi, as I've mentioned so many times before, the G hands, and you hit it at the right angle, you get the right direction on it, and you have the trajectory or the ultimate goal in your head, you can get through the clothing. All right, and it's the same thing with a bullet. You have to have the correct bullet design. Some bullet designs will be so clogged up by the material in the front, they really don't cause a lot of damage to the internal body. And that's how we have to look at it. And that's why I like to call them Kyusho targets. Once in a while, if I'm playing to a group that has done pressure points, I will use the pressure point designation. I used to use it, and my attempt was to take people using the pressure points, get them used to, slowly get them used to saying, okay, this pressure point is on this nerve. And I've designed my charts to say, okay, you got small intestine 18 as an example for a pressure point. What nerve is that activating, okay? And if you hit it up, how come it doesn't, and you pinch that against the cheekbone, how come it doesn't knock the person out? You have to get the correct trajectory of sending that neurological message on that nerve, okay? We've all been brushed against, we've all been punched in the face with a glove in the arcumite, and you hadn't gone down. And that's what people equate with Kyusho. They think, okay, you can't hit it, number one, in a fight because it's a small target, okay? That depends on your training, as I mentioned before. When you're using boxing methods, they weren't designed to come up under here. Yes, you've seen some people get knocked out with that shot, but it wasn't on purpose. They were trying for maybe coming up under the chin with an uppercut, okay? But you've seen fights where they've been knocked out on the cheekbone, okay? And people say, what the heck was that? Because they're not used to understanding that target, okay? And you've seen punches come in with that downward hook, and they invariably knock the person out because that was the correct angle, direction, and they perchance got the correct trajectory as well. Now, if they studied that, they'd have a better chance of getting it, and that's the whole point to this Kyusho.com. Our Kyusho project is getting people to understand no matter what martial art you do, you can affect the Kyusho targets, all right? And one last idea for the jiu-jitsu practitioners, because there's a big divide saying, okay, you can't do this in jiu-jitsu, and that's like absolutely incorrect, because jiu-jitsu is the place where you want to be to best utilize a number of different targets. First of all, your targeting is going to be much better than moving back and forth with a bouncing opponent, okay? If you've grabbed onto the person, the action stays stabilized. So the targeting is much easier to accomplish, but you can accomplish it with so many different tools, and there is just no way to hide all your targets in a combative situation. You might think you have the person restrained very well, and you might, but there's something exposed. We can't be 100% non-exposed when we're in a martial situation. So again, even with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, this is brilliant, but your trajectory is necessary. The tools, the correct targeting, as an example, is necessary also. Say you got a thick judo or jiu-jitsu gi on, okay, and you're going to go for a chest target, okay, the nerves right up underneath the collarbone as an example. That thick material that comes down on the band, okay, the collar, okay, you'll push and that band will act like a snowshoe and won't let you penetrate into the inside or deep into the body. So you're on the surface, or the thick gi itself sometimes, if you don't have the correct tool, will stop that. You need to know how to bypass that. You need to know the correct tool, number one, what you're using, how to get in there the correct way, and the correct energetic transmission of it. Okay, if you just push on it, person's body tightens up instinctively and they resist, and it's not going to work. Okay, so there are overrides for every one of those, but for jiu-jitsu, this is absolutely a must learn system, okay, or idea is the Kyusho. Okay, in your fighting arts, where you're doing mostly punching and kicking, and elbowing even, and striking like Muay Thai or karate or Kung Fu, whatever you're doing, you still need to know the targets, all right, because that's going to give you the most power and the most efficacy over your lifetime. Not the speed and the power that's going to diminish over time, okay, but something that will last and enhance over your lifetime. So I've rambled on quite a bit here. I just wanted to bring this to your attention. Using the word target all the time. I'll name out the nerve occasionally. I name out a pressure point. So the people that are still stuck in the paradigm of using pressure points understand the location, the general location. Okay, and then we break it down a little finer into the nerve and the correct trajectory and the correct tools that will work in that situation. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe to either the Platinum subscription, that's over 30 years of information and films into a educational library, if you will, and the Patreon for all the new concepts that are delivered, short films, so you don't have to go as deeply into it. If you really want the deep stuff, go to the Platinum subscription. If you want just different ideas on a weekly basis, go to the Patreon system, and I'll put both those links below. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.